4 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few defense DST units I have as sleepers this week. The first one, the Chicago Bears. I know the Bears, one of the worst defenses in the league, but this week they got a pretty decent matchup versus the Denver Broncos. That their offense has been pretty poor over the last few weeks here, especially to start the season. So right now, I know in the deepest of leagues, if you need a sleeper option, the Bears available 99% of fantasy leagues, and they've gotten the doors blown off the first 3 weeks of the season. Week 1 versus Green Bay, 32 points allowed a sack. Week 2 with Tampa, 21 points allowed a block kick. And then week 3, Kansas City, 41 points allowed, but they did have 2 interceptions, surprisingly, in that one. So right now, we know Russell Wilson, he don't have a great offensive line, and we know they're mistake-prone is this Denver team, with a lot of fumbles so far in the early going this season. So right now in the deepest of leagues, if you're looking for a defense who's pretty much universal in every fantasy league and maybe could have a surprising ball game, I would have the Bears this week as a deep sleeper, available in 99% of leagues. Like I mentioned, the next DST is the Houston Texans. So the Texans are pretty much virtually available in a lot of fantasy leagues as well right now in 97%. And so far this season, the Texans have had 2 pretty decent ball games out of the first 3, putting up fantasy points. Week 1 at Baltimore, 25 points allowed, but they did have 4 sacks, an interception, a fumble recovery. Week 2 versus the Colts, 31 points allowed, did nothing. And week 3 at Jacksonville, a solid ball game, 17 points allowed, and a fumble recovery, block kick, and a kick return touchdown in that one. So right now, they got a young Pittsburgh Steeler offense coming to town here. And like I said, this Houston team, they could get to the quarterback a little. They got some playmakers. And in the return game, they got some speed as well. So if you could get a return touchdown out of them, once again, that's a 6 points right away on the board. But anyway, Steelers got a young offense, even though I think Kenny Pickett, Calvin Austin could be sleeper options this week for this team here. But anyway, if you're looking for a deep dive sleeper option, I don't think the Texans are the worst pick in the world. And I have them as a sleeper this week. Third and final defense DST units, a sleeper this week. It's the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams, I know their defense is definitely fallen off over the last few seasons, but this week here, a good matchup with the Indianapolis Colts that give up the 12th most fantasy points to DSTs on the season. So right now, Anthony Richardson's practicing. I'm guessing he's going to play in this ball game. And right now, this Ram team, we'll see if they can feast on the young quarterback. So in the early going, week 1 in Seattle, 13 points allowed, 2 sacks. Week 2 versus the Niners, 30 points allowed, did nothing in that one. And then week 3 at Cincinnati, holding down a pretty good offense, even though I know Joe Burrow isn't 100%, 19 points allowed, 2 sacks, and then though. But this week here at Indianapolis, I think they could go out there and make plays, is this Ram defense. They still have Aaron Donald, even though I know his best elite days are behind them. He's still a game wrecker in ways as Aaron Donald. And this Indianapolis offensive line isn't all that great as well. So this week here, with all those factors and an indoor game, which always helps anybody on a football field, I think this defense could be a decent sleeper option, available in 97% of fantasy leagues. So that's a few defense DST units I have as sleepers for week 4 of the fantasy football season.